Hello and welcome to Spotlight On. Today I am chatting with creative art designer Bruno Tilley. Hello Bruno.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good mate, I'm good. Now, let me start by saying many thanks for this interview, because I know you don't normally do them when we spoke last time, so I really appreciate the time that you're going to spend with us.
Yeah,
so let's get things underway. Tell me about yourself, the early days, and just like where you were born, and why did you choose a career like you're doing now?
Okay. Well, basically, I suppose I was born in North London, Muswell Hill, all places, and I was brought up in a very kind of creative environment. My father was a successful design and art director and illustrator, and back in like kind of the Mad Men days, he worked in sort of advertising, and I was sort of brought up around all these, I worked in I helped to earn some extra pocket money. I used to work in the studio occasionally, and so I was kind of around the whole kind of creative world from day one, in a sense. So that was the kind of foundation, and then from there I explored the world of illustration, because I managed to get a job at an agency called Artist Partners, where my father was represented by them, and he managed to get me in. I was just as a runner, but I got to meet all these incredible artists, illustrators and painters, and they were a very successful agency. And from there, that sort of spearheaded things for me, in the sense I wanted to go to art college and take it further. Yeah. So I got into. Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you with the runner, was that when you met up with the guy? Is it Alan Lee?
Well, Alan Lee was one of the artists. It was an amazing place, Artist Partners, because they had their office in Soho, and it was over three. They had kind of 3 floors, and a bit like our art college, that everybody had their own. It was kind of full of artists, and everyone had their own little section. So they were incredible artists. So you get people like Alan Lee, who went on to be kind of one of the main conceptual artists for Lord of the Rings. And then you had other, you had portrait artists. You had Brian Froud, who did, he worked with Jim Henson and Bowie on Labyrinth. So, then you get a painter like Roger Coleman, who was an incredible artist, and Brian Sanders. And, it was just packed. And so imagine the atmosphere was fantastic there. I used to do, as extra money, I'd do a bit of, they'd get me to do some modelling for a magazine article. So I'd be constantly dressing up in different outfits and appearing on the boxes of kind of perfume ads, or I'm actually on a Shawaddy Waddy album cover in the crowd. And so it was a really interesting time.
How old were you when that was happening? How old were you?
I was around 15, 16, I guess.
That would be massive for you, wouldn't it?
It was, yeah. Well, you kind of suddenly thrown out into the big wide world, and I was picking up artwork from various people. What's his name? There's one very famous guy, Topolsky. That's right. He worked in the arches under Waterloo. I went and picked up an artwork with him. It was a painting he'd done. It was something to do with the royal family, and I was the guy who had to deliver it. It was. But I was in and out of agencies and meeting all these guys and thinking, it's a pretty cool world to be in.
Yeah. So your big break probably came in 1980 when you started your career with Island Records. Is that correct? And how did that come about?
Yeah, that was, if you go back a couple of years, when I was at art college, I went to St. Martin's School of Art, and they'd asked us what we wanted to do, and I'd always wanted to design record covers, but basically, that was like, that was the thing that was happening. It was the music was great, and at the time, way back then, and and I just love the idea of working in that world. And I must say, I was quite discouraged at college. You know, they told me I was crazy, that I'd never get into it. Despite that, I actually thought I'm going to make my show. It's going to be I'm just going to do record covers for my show. Yeah. And that's what I proceeded to do. I kind of redesigned all my favourite albums and album covers. I put a show up of those. And ironically, it was actually St. Martin's who sent me a kind of notice to say they used to send me out information every few weeks. I'd get something saying glass engraver required, or somebody, and I thought these are very odd things. And then one day I got this letter saying a designer wanted a record company, so I couldn't get there fast enough. You know.
Hey, you jumped at the chance.
I did.
So when you
did, yeah.
So where was Island Records based? Did you have to leave the country, or was Island based in this country?
No, St. Peter's Square in Chiswick. So no, not too far.
Not too far.
So I didn't get so again.
You're going to say your original debut was for Bob Marley's Buffalo Soldier. Do you want to tell our listeners?
Yeah.
Take them through that and how you were given the project.
Well, before that, really, to be honest, when I got to Ireland, I started designing. The first job I had to do actually was to design the logo. They said, design a logo for ska music, and they said we need it like in 2 days' time or something, which was a huge shock to me because at art college you get 2 or 3 weeks on a project, and always need it to the last minute. But anyway, I managed to do this thing, and next thing I know is this logo's been taken. Like Bob Marley's wearing it. They're playing, there was a kind of company football match going on, and Bob Marley, with his love of football, they printed these T-shirts, and he was wearing it. I thought, it doesn't get much better than this, at the time. But I started off really. I was designing. I was the in-house designer, so I got it was on anything that they needed. Could have been a record cover or a poster or anything. But I had this desire to start, after working there a while, I had this desire to sort of start making, working on moving images. And so what I did was, whenever I did a photo session with an artist, or particularly with the jazz artists, because we had a jazz label there, people like Courtney Pine and the Jazz Warriors, and these kind of guys. So what I'd do is I'd film them on I'd bring my Super 8 camera down there and film the whole thing, and then start, and then using some. We also built an in-house editing suite, and during downtime, I'd edit these videos and sort of made them jazz films, which nobody had commissioned me to make them, but they were. That was my kind of in a way, and no one was they weren't particularly interested in them. I mean, they did, when I produced the Jazz Warriors out of many one people video, they really liked it, but there was a problem showing it on TV, that there were too many of them in the group, and in the Jazz Warriors, and there's like 20, 30 guys playing this thing. So there was a problem with the unions and the fact that you had to get paid. It was all unionised back then, and each artist had to get paid. So the result was basically they didn't show the video on TV, even though everyone liked it. It would have been too expensive. It would have been. They couldn't afford to do it. But at the same time, having made 2 or 3 of these music videos, one day this lovely guy who worked at Ireland, Dave Zomio, he came in and he asked me if I'd like to pitch for a Bob Marley video for Buffalo Soldier. So I couldn't believe it, really. And I recruited my brother. My brother worked in the movie business down at Pinewood Studios, and I said, look, I sat down with him. He was in town. I said, I need some help here, because how do you make a video? And then it's like so. Because this is my chance, right? I've never done a proper video before, and anyway, he held my hand through a lot of it, and And we kind of got through storyboarded it up, and we actually filmed the whole video down in Black Park, which is near Pinewood Studios, and recruited 7 bands. Assweather in there, King Sounds is in there, and various other sort of dreads.
I'd like to know.
And that was it, really. Yeah. So.
One thing I'd like to know, because I'm sure listeners would like to know as well. Yeah, for a video, for a pop music video, right? That's only around about 4 or 5 minutes, which is the length of the track. Now, tell us exactly how long did it take to shoot those 3 or 4 minutes in actual time?
In actual time to shoot them? Well, it depends. It's kind of really down to the budget you get, in a sense. Well, it certainly was back then, but ideally, I'd want kind of 2 or 3 days if I could to shoot it, but inevitably, like Bob Marley's video, was shot in a day. You always sort of end up with a day. If you go on location somewhere, like I went to Morocco with Misha Paris, and it was a short video, but for that track My One Temptation, and we filmed that over a period of 2 or 3 days.
Yeah. I was going to bring up Misha Paris, because there was something that happened. We were talking about when I first spoke to you a couple of weeks ago about what the Americans said when you put that Misha Paris video together. Do you want to tell us again about that? When the Americans said you know how to shoot a video or something now.
Yeah, they basically. I mean, with Misha, I had to shoot a video. They made a video for My One Temptation, and nobody really liked it. And I had to shoot. It was just like preparing everything for the American campaign on Misha, like the launch in the States. Yeah. So I had to shoot her record cover, and I decided that I wanted to go somewhere sort of special with fantastic lights. I really wanted like great light, great scenery, and so I decided to go to Morocco. I thought that would be a great place, with the deserts, and it's all going to look good. So, and I took a fantastic photographer over there with me, a guy called Brad Branson, and we kind of aided it, and also took a cameraman. And we recruited, it was just a kind of small team of people, really, but it was kind of to shoot some extra scenes to put into this video that had been made. But what happened was, we got to Morocco, and what happened was I actually didn't shoot that much footage, because I thought this was just going in as inserts, but we managed to shoot, like, over 2 or 3 days. We shot lots of still photography and filmed with setups and everything. And when I got back, they basically, Misha decided she didn't want to use any of the other video and just to use our footage. So we kind of we edited it together and got squeezed every frame out of it. And everybody was absolutely delighted, because it was like a very, very simple video, which I remember the American company saying it was great. We sort of finally made a video we can use over here. And I thought, well, that's a bit of a double-edged sword in a sense, it was great. And Misha's, fabulous to film and work with.
Now, I didn't know this. What does it take to be a creative artist? Do you think you're born with it, or do you have to? You tell me. What does it take to be a creative artist?
It's kind of, it's sort of hard to define, because I've kind of spent my life around it, in a sense. I know that. I mean, when I'm given a project to do work on, it's really kind of about focusing on what you're trying to say or do with the project. So I've always sort of seen it as kind of like having one foot in the arts and one foot in the marketing. I think it's important to come up with a kind of dynamic image, but it's sort of, it's being able to kind of also tune into that kind of creative cloud and kind of visualize things, and it's a kind of hard, it's hard to define. I mean, it's just for me, it's all about having ideas, the right ideas, you know.
It's a bit like Andy Warhol, wasn't it? You know, his concept of art. Because he I would say he was a master. Yeah, but would you class Andy Warhol as a creative artist?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm surrounded. To be honest, I'm surrounded by. You know, he's a very talented guy. He knew how to market himself. And at the time, you know, different times as well. You know, because at the time.
Yeah. Now,
there was less
on a different note,
in the game. Yes.
Yeah. On a different note, would you like to tell me a little about your screenplay writings and about possible film direction? Because I know you put pen to paper, haven't you?
I have, and it's been another passion of mine in the sense that I've directed so many kind of music videos over the year. I always had this again, and I hit this point where I had this desire to work on something bigger. So I thought it's very unlikely that anyone's going to call me up and ask me to direct their next movie. So I'd better write one. Which actually ended up me writing a few. I mean, I have to say that my father, a big influence, because he switched from working in the advertising world to writing. So he started writing novels and movies, and you know, and I'd very often read his screenplays and help him to edit and throw in a few ideas here and there, and we'd just certainly discuss them. So the first project I started, you know, I thought just to dip my toe in the water was I'd spent so much time out in Jamaica working with the kind of various reggae artists, and it took me out to Jamaica many times. So I thought I'd write a Jamaican story about. It started off as in fact, I got a call from a friend of mine out there who said, "You've got to come down and see this World Reggae Dance Contest," and at the time, I thought this sounds very interesting. So I kind of jumped on a plane and flew out to Jamaica, and again armed with my now it was like a little mini DV camera, and I filmed the whole event. And the winner came from like one of the ghettos in Kingston, and that's how I went back to his place and filmed the family and started to kind of get to know the people there and get a feel for them. And I mean, I knew Jamaica reasonably well, but not necessarily the tougher side of the country. You know, I'd always go for the waterfalls and tourist board type kind of locations. You know, but I got to see a different side of Jamaica, and I kind of came back and I started to write this. I edited the footage and then I started to write it up as a story, but as a documentary. I thought it was to make a great documentary kind of for the next show. But it actually sort of just started coming out as a screenplay, a story. I just started writing about his character that I'd met, his kid, and it kind of turned into another kind of Harder They Come in a sense. I don't know if you know that movie, but it's a kind of modern day version of it. I called it Respect, but so it kind of, in the end, it turned into a kind of Godfather kind of meets Goodfellas type story. So, and it was a very interesting process, and it kind of taught me how to write screenplays. And I showed my old man, and he helped me again. I've written something like 500 pages, which is insane. Really. But we managed to cut it down to kind of like 110 pages, which is the kind of right sort of length. And again, I almost got there making it. I was out there in Jamaica. I think we got all the backing and everything, but unfortunately, I was out there for 12 weeks, pre-planning it, casting it, finding the locations, and. But at the end, the backer pulled out, which was, it's a real welcome to the film business. So I decided to write another one.
That's great. You know what I mean?
But something more home-based, which was this was based all around my experiences in the music industry, and this affair I'd had with a singer.
All right. Okay.
And it turned out, she had a kind of major drug problem, and this is the true life story. And I went on this kind of mission to try and save her, which took me to some very dark places.
So are you going to name the singer, or is that to wait until it's written?
Wait till it's done. She'll be out there. In fact, she survived it, so she'll be out there helping me promote it. But no, she was quite popular, but nobody knew that, you know, it was an insane story of this kind.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Fish out of water for me, but I was a real fish out of water dealing in the drug world, you know, trying to save somebody who was and that's actually ended up being the title of the film. So that's a film I intend to make. And I'm talking to people now about casting, and we're working on the kind of pre-production side of it at the moment. I'd love to make it because it's a kind of anti-drug film. It's also got it's a black comedy in a sense, but there's a lot of funny within that madness. You know, a lot of funny stuff happens. It's Well,
that's it with that comedy world. Yeah, it's serious at one note, and then you've got to have the laugh, otherwise, you know, it'll just be like it's
full of them, actually. Yeah, it is full of them. I mean, but it has got a serious undertone. It's a kind of anti-drug film. It's more probably about the way drugs affect the people are surrounded around the addict as such. It's kind of like a reflection on how everybody else is affected by it, and the fallout, really. I mean, I spent years trying to help this girl, but
it's got a bit of hidden baker. Right. Have you got a story of where anything could go wrong, did go wrong? You're on set, and everything was all set perfectly, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 it just was a hell on earth.
Well, I did experience that out in Jamaica, funnily enough, where just about everything went wrong. Artists not turning, some of the artists not turning up, equipment breaking down. But I called it at the time. You know, the crew were so exhausted by the heat that they couldn't take it. They were all, sleeping half the time. I remember that shoot being, that was like hell in paradise, basically. I did have a crazy experience with Aswad. We're making a video called Give a Little Love, where we decided to shoot that in Saint-Tropez because we thought we were going to go for the good weather, great locations, a fun, loving, happy, upbeat song, and. But what happened was completely the opposite. You know, we went down to Saint-Tropez, and it just poured with rain for like about 3 to 4 days, and we were there like for 5, in total. That was finding location. The hotels that we organised there was a problem with the bookings. So and this was kind of like a lowish budget video. So the only rooms in town were in the most expensive hotel in town, like ridiculous prices. So half the budget went on the band's hotel. We all the crew and everybody, all kind of bunked in together into kind of someone's house, and we kind of B&Bs and houses. It was a kind of complete chaos. My producer walked out on the project, leaving me. This was like after kind of a couple of days. I developed asthma attacks, which I hadn't had since a kid. I phoned up London, just the MD of London in the UK, and said to him, this is a disaster, the whole thing. We can't do it. And he said, they were having a heat wave in London, which was, ironic because we were like in the pouring rain, literally. And he basically told me not to come back without a video. And the band seemed to be falling out with each other. There were some girlfriends about who were fighting. Just about everything kind of went wrong on that. There was a vintage car I'd hired from Paris, which was coming down, which had broken down en route. That kind of everything. And what was amazing was that everything turned up on the last day. The producer had taken the van, so we had problems getting around places. He'd driven it to the airport and decided to go home. I was left with one last day to shoot the whole video, and amazingly, it all came together. The sun came out. we got it. We got the whole thing, and you edit it all together, and it's a fun, loving, happy, upbeat film. You know, so but that actually almost put me off making any more films ever. Really,
it did. So, what was the title of that track from Aswad?
Oh, that was a track called "Give a Little Love."
Right. I'm just taking a mental note of that one. Now, I tell you what we're going to do, Bruno. We're going to have a little break to play some of your videos and some of your music, and I'm also going to post some of the videos on the social network. And we'll be back with you in about 10 minutes' time, 15 minutes' time. Okay, mate?
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Hello and welcome back to Soul Sensations. Still with me here is creative art designer Bruno Tilley. Welcome back, Bruno.
Hi again.
All right. Right. I'm going to ask you this question, right? There's one that I've actually thought of just this year day. At any stage where you ever discouraged or think it's not working, I've had enough, I need to do something else. If so, how did you overcome that? Apart from the Aswad video.
Apart from the Aswad video, well, there's been many stages when I felt I've had enough. But you can somehow keep coming back, don't you? I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
Why? It's, I'm not sure, in life, you hit kind of hurdles. It's all about keep going, even through the hard times. It's just sort of these kind of phases you go through, I guess. And I've always found kind of creativity in a sense, it's like kind of, for me, it's a bit of a kind of therapy in a sense. That, all hell can be breaking loose around you, but when you kind of start working on something creative and lose yourself into that world, it all seems all right again.
True, it's just true. Do you have any advice for anybody that's listening that wants to become a creative art designer or records, or CDs now, isn't it, really? Or anything along those lines? Any advice you'd like to give them?
Well, the only thing I can really relate to is it's always been, for me, it's always been about hard work. I've always been the last light in the office, sort of, that's still on. Or it's just about it's just about grafting, really. I mean, you can get a lucky break in that, but to kind of build a solid foundation. Nowadays, my nephew's a kind of young filmmaker, and he sent me a film today of an amazing project that he got a charity bike ride from the south of Wales to north of Wales, and he filmed the whole thing, and he's asking me for advice. And I've been basically kind of helping him along at a distance, so because he's got to do it himself, he's got to learn it, but I kind of set him up with Final Cut, the editing program, and talks about filming, and he shows me his edits and for criticism and that, for critique rather. But I think nowadays you've got to learn, if you want to be into the arts, you have to kind of really be sort of multimedia world now, so you have to know a little bit about film editing, about photography, about, using social networking, how to best use that, to promote yourself. And that's kind of at the moment, I work in all these different areas, everything from designing brands to shooting videos to, doing a lot of using, what back in the day, they do all these services that you utilize to produce, you'd employ editors or you'd employ photo retouchers. Now we do it all ourselves in front of computers,
That's it, yeah. I think I used to do photography at school, and I'm old school. I used to get the developing tank in the dark room and the black and white photographs and everything else, the chemicals, and do the f-stop, the light meter, and check the aperture and the ESA and the speed of the film. Now I think it's cheating now because all you do is you buy a digital SLR camera, you get a copy of Photoshop and go click, and it's done. I think the fun's gone out of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was brought up in a world pre-computers, creating them. So all the imagery we did back in the early Island Records days was all that was all done by hand, and you had to, I understood cameras like, I understood I could just look through the lens and adjust the ASA and the speed and everything without even checking the light meters. You know, it's kind of, you get to know your camera and the tools that you work with. Nowadays, it's autofocus and it's all kind of done for you. So
it's no fun.
I think there's something to be said for having, you know, like when you work out an idea, you sketch out the idea first on paper, you know, and you kind of figure out how you're going to do it. And, you know, there's something to be said for that school of thought, but I guess the new generations don't necessarily need that.
Yeah, that actually links into the next question I was going to ask you, because it basically is, what inspires you to create each record sleeve, you know? So you say you're given the title of a track and an artist. How do you set about creating it? Do you just have a think? Do you just doodle a bit and then just put them together? How does the whole lot come together?
Well, to be honest, there's only a few artists I work with now. I don't do so much music. But having said that, I am involved in 2 or 3 music projects. It's kind of a combination of things, really. But it does start off as a thumbnail sketch, I must say. It's like I start blocking out ideas. It'll be based on the style of the music, the artist, or, you know, the artists themselves might have some ideas, which is always great. I always found, you know, in terms of advice, you know, sometimes when you kind of like sitting there looking at a blank piece of paper, the part of the problem, you know, the thing I learned through kind of, it took a while to kind of learn this, but it's all about the research that you do on the project. The more you understand about the artist and the audience and what they're trying to say or achieve, the easier it gets. You know, if you know, back in the days at Ireland, sometimes I'd get given the record. I had no idea who they were, the people were. I liked the music, but I had no idea who the band was or whatever, and they need a record cover in a couple of days' time. You know, so that used to kind of really hit me. But when I did some research into the project or whatever, then I speak to the manager or artists, or then you kind of start getting ideas. So to me that's important. But sketches, I've got books and books and books of sketches of the initial thoughts, moving posters and.
You must have a massive library of drawings that you've kept. Have you kept
I've got an attic full of, no library, unfortunately, I'm not that organised, but I've got an attic full of sketch pads and notes and, which will probably all end up in the dump one day. But
you should do a book, you should write a book and then include those sketches, do a bio, do something like that, and that's what I would really interesting. That was really interesting.
It would be interesting because actually some of the things like, I worked on, I spent years working for Manga Films and helped them set up their...
Yes, I was about to pick up Magna.
And they basically, that's the Japanese animation kind of world, which became a huge hit, and I created the brand for the company and got involved with things like Ghost in the Shell and... which was a big hit, and their kind of manga magazine and manga merch. But it was interesting to work on that because as a company that was as successful as anything else we'd worked on. In the music business, it was like there were kids outside, all fans. They used to come here asking for autographs, and it was quite amazing.
So were you behind Magna? Did you start it off, or did you get brought into Magna?
Yeah, it's manga.
Manga.
Yeah. I was brought in at an early stage because it was all part of the Island Records. It was an offshoot company run by a good friend of mine called Andy Frame. He'd set this thing up, and they had several video labels, educational ones, comedy labels. I designed brands for all of them. But what happened was Manga was one of the companies that they created, and what happened was it just blew up. It just became huge. And so they dropped all the other labels and just focused on that, and it just grew and grew and grew. So it's amazing, actually. It kind of infiltrated kind of club culture, Ministry of Sound.
Yeah.
Put clips together. You give them edits of trailers and edit all these kind of manga films which they project on the wall. So while everyone's dancing, freaking out, and doing whatever, you've got incredible animations happening on the walls. It's kind of, it was quite something.
What was the idea behind it? Because one thing that sticks out of my mind about those pictures is the large eyes on the cartoons. Why did they make the eyes so large? Is that this part of the concept of it always?
Well, that's what we were kind of. That's the style of manga. It's these kind of like huge-eyed, very kind of with small mouths and cute kind of characters, I guess. That's the style. It's all Japanese. It's Japanese, and if you look at the Japanese comics, they've got a tradition of it. So I'm not sure how that actually where that started, but it's now completely infiltrated our culture. My daughter's a huge fan of like LOL dolls, all based on those sort of characters. It's it's on that style of drawing.
But I've got one more question for you, Bruno, before we say goodbye, because I know you've got to crack on, and I've got to crack on as well.
Yes.
I believe you're waiting on a film at this moment in time. Do you want to tell us what the future holds for Bruno Tilley?
Well, I'm delving back into the movie business again, which I've got a comedy that I've tried the heavy duty Jamaican gangster film, which great movie, we'll make it one day. I've tried the drug addict girlfriend in the music business. I thought, well, maybe we should try something quite light for a change, and I can't, and it's based on a true story that I'd read way back, and it was where there was a kind of like complete mismatch of something happened back in the 70s, an event where a Mainz football team in Germany, a Bundesliga kind of Premier Division team, by accident they thought they invited Wolverhampton Wanderers over for a friendly match, and through cross wires and poor communication, they ended up with a Sunday league football team. And this is back in the 70s during the 3-day week. Times really miners were on strike. It was a really tough time. So the Otterspan Social Club, which was the team in Wolverhampton, they decided to go to Germany because England had also been knocked out of the World Cup. And so they decided to make the trip, and they travelled down to Mainz, which was a kind of real kind of escapade of, like it's a real kind of character-driven film. And they turn up, and there's like 40,000 people there to see them. And they decide to play the game because it's they're not given much choice, but they lose 21-0. And
oh man, oh bless.
But they turn the crowd. It's got a wonderful twist at the end, where they come out as kind of heroes, basically. But I won't spoil it. But we kind of
don't spoil it. No. Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it, but it's a very funny story. The story's just great. So it was quite refreshing to work on. I worked on it with a good friend of mine on the screenplay, and we'll see if we can get that one away. I mean, it seems to be getting very well received. So we'll see. Yeah.
Well, Bruno, is there anything you'd like to add finally before we say goodbye?
Well, only that, I'm a man who's been kind of involved in lots of different things, and I do also have the other thing I'm launching this year is my T-shirt company, which I've always been fascinated by art-based T-shirts. Over the years, I've designed many of them for the music industry, and sometimes we used to sell more T-shirts than albums.
True.
And basically, what I've done is with this incredible technique is sublimation printing, where you can print kind of photographic images onto a shirt, and it's the technique. It's a dye process, so it becomes part of the fabric. It's not like a stick-on thing that washes off. So I found this incredible technique, which allows me basically to print high-quality images on it, and so I've recruited some fantastic artists. Apart from my own designs, I've recruited people like Adrian Boot, who's an amazing photographer who photographed everyone from the Clash to Bob Marley to, you know, he was the NME's photographer, Keith Richards.
I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And then I've got other artists, Patrick Tilley, my father, some of his, you know, it's a kind of tribute to my father. There's Sharon Pinsker, Mark McAvoy, all these fantastic artists have want to work with me on this. So we're kind of promoting that this year.
Oh, well,
keep in touch and let me know. It's called aware.zone. Aware.zone is the URL, the web address.
Yeah.
So if you have a look at that, you'll see this fabulous range of t-shirts.
Well, if you keep me informed about it all, Bruno, I'll advertise for you. I'll get up there for you, no bother.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, many thanks. And I'll tell you what, at this stage, I'd like to thank Richard S. Barnett for getting us two together. It's been a while because we've been trying to get this interview going for about 2 months now, I think. Is it 3 months? So I'd like to thank Richard.
Well, Richard's a great guy. He's a kind of he's great. I call him Mr. Introductions, and
I call him John the Dot Man.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've all got a different name for him, but he's a great guy.
He is.
Nice, yeah.
So, great. Bruno, many thanks, mate, for joining us. I'll let you know what's going on later on about anything else that's popping along, and keep in touch about your record, your T-shirt company as well, mate.
I will do.
Once again, many thanks, Bruno, for joining us.
Yeah.
Cheers now.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers, bro. Bye-bye now, bro. Bye. Bye.